Dr. Anthony Harper here, blessed to be with Ambassador Mike Huckabee, U.S. Ambassador to Israel. We're at a special event by Newsmax here in Jerusalem. Thank you for joining me.
My pleasure.
And, we had an interview just before the war started, basically, which was June 11th this year. What has happened, transpired, of course, besides the war? What would you like to say about regarding an update regarding the war, Israel-Iran war, and since then?
Well, first of all, it was a flawless military operation by both the Israelis and the U.S. It was an incredible thing to see these two countries working in tandem to put an end to the aspirations of the Iranians to have a nuclear weapon. The president continued to tell them, you're not going to have a nuclear weapon and you're not going to enrich uranium.
Yeah.
They somehow didn't take him at his word. He told them we can do it the easy way, we can do it the hard way. They ended up deciding they do it the hard way. Maybe they should regret that. What we've seen also, though, is the war in Gaza grinds on. It grinds on because Hamas doesn't want it to end. Israel would love for it to end. The president would like for it to end. But it's still going on because Hamas is stubborn. They refuse to let go of the hostages, and they continue to torture them and starve them. And it's embarrassing. But what's really bad is you have European leaders who are putting more pressure on Israel than they are Hamas. At the same time, it is the Arab League who unanimously has said Hamas needs to disarm and they need to let all the hostages go at once. I wish the Europeans could adopt the same point of view that the Arab League has, because that's the right approach. Put the pressure on Hamas, not on Israel.
So much pressure on Israel, with the Palestinian state idea, with the UK ambassador, the French prime minister, and so many others. So this seems very clearly to be directly threatening Israel's security. What is your opinion on this matter?
Well, without a doubt they are. And quite frankly, when Macron and Starmer and the other European leaders started talking about a Palestinian state, they rejoiced in Hamas because the Europeans had done the dirty work for Hamas and given them hope. Secretary Rubio was very clear. He said when that happened, the negotiations were over. They ended because Hamas said, hey, we don't have to negotiate anything. All we got to do is let the Europeans continue to pressure Israel. It was a disastrous move on the part of France and the UK, Canada, the Netherlands, and Ireland. I don't know what they were thinking, but they weren't thinking straight.
With President Trump's response now regarding Israel Knesset vote for Israel's sovereignty over Judea, Samaria, and the Jordan Valley, this is key for Israel's survival to have protection over their homeland, have that right to sovereignty.
Yeah, the president has not come out with an official policy on that specific vote of the Knesset. But one thing we know about President Trump, when he makes a decision, he not only makes it with conviction, but he keeps his promise. So I look for him to make whatever policy view he decides. It'll be clear, and he will stick with it.
Well, the UN is really a problem. It continues to be. Also curious about what President Trump's response would be to the UN. Really basically a terrorist organization, according to our audience, a lot of our Jewish and Christian audience, because the UN has not been really supportive of Israel or the U.S., by the way. Yeah. So latest for President's response to the UN in general.
I think all of us feel that the UN has a lot to answer for. 88% of the food that they have tried to get into Gaza has been stolen or looted. It's been a disaster. When you think that only 12% of the food, and they're the ones criticizing the U.S. government for GHF in the process that is quite frankly working very well. We just need more stations to feed people. But how dare the UN, who has such a dismal record, would tell anyone how it ought to be done.
Yes, so serious. So any final things you would like to say to our Christian audience, urgent issues regarding Israel?
Well, I would just say pray for the peace of Jerusalem, because it's very urgent that people understand that we need to stand with our Jewish friends and with the state of Israel.
Well, thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you. Great to be with you.